All right, let's cut the crap and dive right into this shit.
Yeah.
French presidents, right?
Yeah.
You think it's all croissants and surrendering?
Hmm.
Fuck no. These guys have more power than a goddamn king.
Well, not exactly a walk in the park, the French presidency. It's like a political blood sport.
Oh, yeah.
Full of ambition, drama, backstabbing,
Oh, yeah.
enough to make Machiavelli blush.
And let's not forget the coups and the assassination.
Mm-hmm.
Emperors. Fucked up family tree.
True. The road to democracy in France. Bit of a demolition derby, to say the least.
So let's rewind to the early days.
Mm.
What's the deal with this Lafayette dude turning down the presidency?
Well, so it's 1830.
Right?
Right after the July Revolution, right? And the presidency was this shiny new toy nobody knew how to play with. They offered it to Lafayette, the war hero.
Right.
But he saw right through the bullshit, thought they were just trying to dress up a monarchy in a fancy new suit.
So they ended up with Louis Philippe.
Mm-hmm.
Basically a king with a different name tag. What a load of crap.
Pretty much. But then along comes Louis Napoleon Bonaparte, 1848.
Oh, yeah, Napoleon's nephew, right?
That's the one. He weasels his way into the presidency under the Second Republic, but as we all know, power is a hell of a drug.
Yeah, this asshat basically went full-blown Caesar and crowned himself Emperor Napoleon III.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Staged a coup, rewrote the Constitution like it was his personal diary.
Yeah.
Bam! France is back to being an empire. But like all empires, it eventually went tits up.
So the Second Republic goes down in flames. What happens next?
Well, they limped along for a bit,
Okay.
finally launched the Third Republic in 1870.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here's where it gets interesting. They actually made the president pretty damn powerful.
Wait, really? Why the hell would they do that?
They were hoping to lure in some royal family member, dangle the power in front of them like a juicy steak,
Oh, I see.
basically sneak the monarchy back in through the back door.
Sneaky bastards. Did it work?
Nope. The Republicans won the next election and basically turned the president into a glorified rubber stamp. For the next 80 years, the president was more of a figurehead. Real power resided in the parliament.
So the president was basically a fancy-pants paper pusher. What a boring-ass job.
Well, it wasn't exactly a thrill ride, but this political impotence, it paved the way for a dude named Charles de Gaulle to come in and shake things the fuck up.
De Gaulle. Didn't he basically create the France we know and love today?
He's considered the father of the Fifth Republic, which is the system France still rocks today.
Right.
He swooped in during a political crisis in 1958, basically threw out the old rule book and wrote his own.
Okay, let's unpack this Fifth Republic thing. What made it so different?
Well, de Gaulle believed that France needed a strong, stable leader, someone who can make the tough calls, not get bogged down in parliamentary bullshit. So he created a semi-presidential system with a president who actually had some balls.
So how does this whole semi-presidential system work? It sounds kind of complicated.
It is a bit of a balancing act. You have the president directly elected by the people with a whole arsenal of executive powers, but then you also have the prime minister and the parliament who are also supposed to run the damn country.
So it's like a political three-way. Sounds like a recipe for some serious friction.
It can be, especially when you have cohabitation. That's when the president and the parliament are from opposing parties. Imagine trying to get anything done when your boss is constantly trying to sabotage you.
Yeah, that sounds like a clusterfuck waiting to happen.
It's led to some epic power struggles over the years, but it also shows how adaptable the system is. Somehow, they managed to keep the wheels from falling off.
Okay, so de Gaulle gives the president more power. What kind of power are we talking about here? Is it just symbolic crap, or does this dude have some real teeth?
Oh, he's got teeth, all right. And claws. And maybe even a few nuclear missiles tucked away in his back pocket. De Gaulle gave the president serious authority, especially when it comes to national security and foreign policy.
Hold up. Nuclear missiles? Are you fucking serious?
Dead serious. The president of France has sole authority over the country's nuclear arsenal. Talk about a job with some serious perks.
Holy shit. I guess that's why they get paid the big bucks.
Actually, their salary is pretty measly compared to some other world leaders, but they do get some sweet perks.
Like what? Besides the whole finger on the button thing.
Well, they get to live in the Élysée Palace, which is basically the French White House. Plus, they have access to a bunch of other fancy residences, a private jet, and a pretty hefty staff.
Not bad. But I guess the pressure must be insane. I mean, you're responsible for the entire country. You have to deal with constant political bullshit, and you could accidentally start a nuclear war.
It's not a job for the faint of heart, that's for sure.
So how long do these guys get to cling to power? Do they get to rule for life like some medieval king?
Not anymore. Originally, the presidential term was 7 years, but they shortened it to 5 years in 2000. And since 2008, they've had a two-term limit.
2 terms, huh? That seems reasonable. Well, I guess you got to give someone else a chance to fuck things up eventually.
It's all about checks and balances, my friend. Even the most powerful president in the world can't stay in office forever.
So what happens if the president kicks the bucket while they're still in office? Does the vice president take over?
France doesn't have a vice president. If the president dies, resigns, or gets impeached, the president of the Senate steps in as acting president until a new election can be held.
The president of the Senate, huh? That's kind of random.
It's not as random as you might think. The Senate is the upper house of the French parliament, so its president is considered a senior figure in the government.
Okay, that makes sense. So how often does this whole dead president thing happen?
Well, it's not exactly common, but it has happened 4 times in French history. The most recent was Georges Pompidou, who died in office in 1974.
4 times, huh? That's enough to make you think twice about running for president.
Maybe. But then again, there's something about power that seems to attract people no matter the risks.
All right, so we've covered the early days, de Gaulle and the Fifth Republic and the president's powers. What else is there to know about this whole French presidency thing?
Well, we haven't even touched on the scandals, the perks, and the impact of the presidency on modern French politics.
Oh, scandals. Now you're talking my language.
Yeah.
Let's get into that.
All right, let's talk scandals. French presidents have had their fair share of, let's say, colorful moments.
Oh, I bet. Give me the dirt. I live for this shit.
Well, for example, there's Felix Faure, who famously died in the Élysée Palace in 1899 while allegedly in the company of his mistress.
Died in office while getting some action. That's one way to go out with a bang, I guess.
Indeed. And then there was François Mitterrand, who had a secret second family that was only revealed after his death.
A whole secret family. Geez, these guys really know how to keep things interesting.
They certainly do. And let's not forget Jacques Chirac, who was convicted of corruption charges related to his time as mayor of Paris.
So even the top dog isn't immune to a little bit of shady dealings, huh?
It seems not, but it's not all scandals and intrigue. Being president also comes with some pretty sweet perks.
Yeah, you mentioned the Élysée Palace before. What's the deal with that place? Is it like a giant mansion with gold toilets and a bowling alley?
It's not quite that extravagant, but it is pretty damn impressive. It's a beautiful 18th century palace in the heart of Paris with over 300 rooms, lush gardens, and a staff of hundreds.
Sounds like a nice place to crash for a few years.
It's not just the Élysée Palace. The president also has access to a bunch of other official residences, like the Château de Rambouillet, a stunning countryside estate, and the Fort de Brégançon, a seaside fortress on the French Riviera.
Damn, they really do live the good life.
They also get a private jet, a fleet of luxury cars, and a personal chef. Not to mention a hefty salary and a lifetime pension after they leave office.
Okay, I'm officially jealous. But I guess with all that power and responsibility comes a lot of pressure, too.
Absolutely. The French president is constantly in the public eye and faces intense scrutiny from the media and the public. Every decision they make is analyzed and debated, and they're expected to be a leader on both the domestic and international stage.
So it's not just about sipping champagne and eating fancy cheese, huh?
Not exactly. It's a demanding job that requires a unique combination of political savvy, charisma, and stamina.
All right, let's bring this back to the present day. What kind of impact does the presidency have on modern French politics?
Well, the Fifth Republic has been, well, it certainly raised some eyebrows, but Macron has proven to be a skilled politician, navigating a complex political landscape and pushing through ambitious reforms.
So what's the big takeaway here? What should our listeners understand about the French presidency?
I think the most important thing to understand is that it's a complex and evolving institution, shaped by centuries of history, political upheaval, and cultural shifts.
Not deep, man.
It is, yeah. The French presidency is like a microcosm of France itself. Blend of tradition and modernity, power and idealism.
Okay, my brain's starting to hurt from all this deep thinking. Can we lighten things up a bit?
Sure. How about we talk about some of the weird traditions and quirky facts associated with the presidency?
Now you're talking. Give me the juicy stuff.
Did you know that French presidents used to have the power to pardon criminals on Bastille Day? It was a tradition that went all the way back to the French Revolution.
A presidential pardon party. Sounds fun.
It was a way for the president to show a little mercy, commemorate the storming of the Bastille. But it was also controversial. Some people thought presidents were using it to let their buddies off the hook.
Makes sense. So what else? Hit me with some more presidential trivia.
Well, the president has an official wine cellar. Over 14,000 bottles.
14,000 bottles. That's enough to get the whole damn country hammered.
They have a team of sommeliers. Their only job is to pick the perfect wines for state dinners and other official events.
This president gig is starting to sound pretty sweet. Maybe I should throw my hat in the ring.
You need to learn a little French first.
Touché. So what about presidential pets? Do they get to live in the palace too?
Of course. French presidents have always had pets. From the usual dogs and cats to weirder ones. A panther, even a llama.
A llama. Seriously, that's fucking awesome.
It was a gift from the president of Bolivia.
I bet that made for some hilarious photo ops.
You bet. Presidential pets often become celebrities themselves. Their own fan clubs, media appearances.
So it's not all politics and power struggles. There's a lighter side to the presidency, too.
For sure. The French presidency is a fascinating mix of seriousness and whimsy, history and modernity. It's a reflection of France itself, a country that embraces its past and present.
Well said. I'm starting to think I could write a book about this.
You could, but there's already a ton of books and articles out there, each with a different take on the French presidency.
So what's the main thing our listeners should take away from all this? What's the most important lesson about the French presidency?
I think the biggest lesson is that power is a double-edged sword. It can be used for good or evil. It's always limited by history, culture, and the political realities of the day.
That's some deep shit. I need a minute to process all this.
The French presidency, like any position of power, comes with a heavy responsibility. It's not all champagne and palaces. It's about carrying the weight of history, being accountable to the people.
No wonder these guys need a wine cellar the size of a football field.
But it's also a chance to shape the future of a nation, to leave a real mark on the world.
So what's next for the French presidency? What challenges and opportunities does the current president face and those who come after him?
Well, Macron is dealing with many of the same problems as leaders everywhere. A shaky economy, social unrest, the rise of populism and nationalism.
And let's not forget Brexit, the whole Russia-Ukraine mess, and climate change.
That's a lot to handle. But Macron has shown he's willing to tackle these challenges head on. He's a reformer at heart, and he isn't afraid to shake things up.
But shaking things up can piss people off. Just look at the Yellow Vest protests a few years back.
True. Macron's reforms have faced pushback, and he'll need to find ways to bridge the divides in French society if he wants to succeed.
So what's the future of the French presidency? Will it stay this powerful force in French politics, or will it start to fade?
That's a tough one. The French presidency has been surprisingly resilient, but it's also facing new challenges in the 21st century. Well, globalization is changing how power works. Social media makes it harder for leaders to control the narrative. Plus, there's growing distrust of traditional institutions.
So you're saying the French presidency might be heading for a midlife crisis?
Maybe. But it could also adapt and evolve, finding new ways to connect with the people and address the challenges of our time.
I guess we'll have to wait and see. But one thing's for sure, the French presidency is never boring.
Right. It's a constant drama, full of surprises, wins, and losses.
So there you have it, folks. The French presidency. A whirlwind of power, politics, and personalities.
We've covered a lot of ground today, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to learn about this fascinating institution.
If you want to dive deeper into French history, politics, and culture, the French presidency is a great place to start.
And who knows, maybe one day you'll be sipping champagne at the Élysée Palace, making the decisions and shaping history.
Or at least you'll be able to impress your friends with your newfound knowledge of French presidential trivia.
Either way, it's been fun exploring this topic with you.
Thanks for listening, everyone. And remember, keep your eyes on the French presidency. You never know what crazy shit they'll pull next.